Hi, everybody. This is Beth Wind with Dave's Music Den at Sweetwater in Fort Wayne. Welcome to the ICDA Virtual Conference. It's great to be with you. We look forward to next year when things are back to normal and we can be together again. In the meantime, I look forward to helping each of you with any of your print music needs. Make sure that you give me a call or an email with any of your choral music needs for your fall, and I look forward to helping you with that. More in a few minutes. Bye.
Joyce Click.
Hello. So happy to see you. I'll give you a wave since I can't see all of you at once. Well, if somebody would have told me a year ago or even 6 months ago that I would be presenting on technology, I would have laughed because that would be the last area that I would present. I hate to say this, but I became very complacent as a career teacher in just doing things the same way until suddenly on March 13th, things changed. And so when you're forced into a situation, it's amazing what things you can learn. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the presentation. I'm so happy that you're all here. We're all in this together. You've all heard that, but we truly are. So I'm going to start out and share my screen and my desktop. And you should all see a PowerPoint, and these slides will be posted as well. So the choir must go online. So when we received a notification that we had to figure this out, of course, what do? We start searching the internet. So I'm just going to share with you some things that I've learned. But I'm hoping that you will all share as we have the session today, and you'll type in the chat. If you have specific questions, you can include your email, and I'll be happy to email you back. Or if you have an idea, maybe something I say reminds you of something that you did the past few months, if you would type that so that we can all learn from each other. I think that's the best kind of presentation. Now, the topics we're going to cover today, so I hope there's something relevant, is we are going to cover the effective use of Zoom and planning for Zoom, online tools and helpful hardware, how to improve student engagement, funding, and professional development. So let's get started. First of all, Zoom, I never even heard of Zoom until, like I say, when schools shut down. And I found it a way to get pretty much all the students engaged. I found out about it, I sent an email, and I put it on my remind, anyone who wants to come. And it was the very first week we were shut down, and I had huge numbers of students come and continued, and I knew it must be successful because after school was out and after we'd had our official choir graduation, I had 5 or 6 students email me the next week and say, aren't we having Zoom this week? And I go, no, it's summer. We're going to take a break. So I know that it's really a great way for students to be engaged. Now, as you can see, I have a picture of my Zoom studio. I started out with just nothing. And I realized that if I could set up something really that was permanent, you may not have the luxury, you don't have to do this, but these are just some things that I, little by little, added to make it a better experience and a less stressful experience. And most of these items were not very expensive. A lot of them I was able to acquire, and I was able to get Donors Choose grants, which I'll talk about later, that covered most of these. And so I'm going to just kind of go through some of these things, like location consideration. If you can put your studio in an area where it can be, first of all, set up all the time, close to your router, power source, so that you always have everything plugged in and charged, because you never know when you could have a power outage. The lighting is super important so that you don't have like a window or lamp behind you. And then always have a backup phone, because there was one time that there was an issue with Zoom, and I had to go to my phone and had to do part of it on my phone because that's the only way I could get on. So always have kind of a backup source if you're the host. Um, so location's really important. External devices that make it a better experience. One, having a microphone, an external mic. The uh, Logitech web camera helps so much, because then if you want to show other things in the room, like when I did my camps, there'd be times that I want to reference other things. I can just take my camera off, and it also generally you get a better quality. I have an additional display monitor. Some people like to do the two screens, and I just like it so I can see it, so I don't have to get right up to the computer. It just makes it easier to see. um, of course, I use Apple, so I have to have extra ports so that I have my computer plugged in the entire time and my phone plugged in. And by having those extra ports, I can plug in my microphone, I can plug in my external drive, uh, I have my camera, all these different devices I'm able to plug in at once. And those are probably the biggest ticket items. So hopefully, if your school can buy you one, that's even better. And looking at this, the lighting kit, I always thought they would be kind of expensive, but I just ordered one on Amazon because I was having a terrible time with the lighting. And that was also really helpful. And then we ordered a swivel chair because if you're spending a lot of time, I just finished a month of camps on Zoom, music camps, and they were 4 and 5 hours at a time. And so having a really comfortable swivel chair is a really helpful thing. Okay, this is something again that is helpful. We upgraded our internet. If you have multiple family members on Zoom, it's it was $20 a month, but for us, since my husband and I were often on Zoom the same time, then it's worth it. It's kind of like a gaming package. None of us in our house game, but if you do gaming, then you can use it for that too, I guess. And so that's the recommended speed, because the problem is when you're a host, it seems to take more firepower than if you have another member of your family who's also hosting at the same time. Your internet can become unstable. Now, as far as Zoom, you may be thinking that, when you go back to school, you won't need it. But I'm trying to think of ways and already planning to have ways to use Zoom to complement what I do. For example, I'm having officer meetings this week, and I'm starting voice testing to see what range people are, and I'm going to do that on Zoom. And I'm going to have a time that Zoom is open. That way I can already have their voice parts, and I'm going to do interviews where I can make sure I have their sizing, their measurements, and then they can just run and have their parents do it. They can run and say, check their size, their pants size, their collar size. I'm going to try to do as much as I can this next month on Zoom so that when we have time together, because as we know, every day is precious because you never know when you might have another shutdown. And so, as much as you can do on Zoom now, as team building, planning some team building events. One is like Meet the Choir, another one will be Zoom games. And then another one is Greatest Hits, where we will plan to uh, teach some of the rounds and cannons and warm-ups that we normally do, and we can do that in breakout rooms where your section leaders or your officers can do call and response. Then they can walk in that first day of school. They will already know some of the songs. They'll already know each other because, believe it or not, you can really get to know each other well on Zoom, especially if you do breakout rooms. So I'm hoping that the idea, now that everybody knows how to do it and is comfortable with it, that we can do some big group things that will save time in class. Now, planning an effective Zoom. I always made sure had a PowerPoint for every Zoom with all the links, so it was all right there. We always had a theme, an objective. The students knew exactly what they were to bring. Uh, when they got the invitation, and it had basically the goal and for singing. Now, this is something, and I really can't say for sure. I'm just going on other people's advice. They say if you're using a mic, external mic, and you're singing call and response, that you should allow for original sound, and that is in your settings. A digital keyboard sounds better than an acoustic piano. I'm sure if anybody who's experimented with that. I had a guest on Zoom who is a professional pianist, and I really didn't understand that till he played his concert piece, and he did it on acoustic piano. Whereas I had someone else come and they played on a digital piano, and it went through Zoom much better. I don't know the science behind it. I just know that's what it works better. Sometimes you can enhance someone's sound just a little bit if you turn off their video. Again, I don't know why, but that's just a little trick. Okay, so mute participants. A lot of these things I'm sure that you know, but just to reinforce, breakout rooms is so awesome. It's you go if you can't find it on your computer, you just go into advanced settings into rooms and set it up so that you can allow for breakout rooms. And when you go to a breakout room, make sure that there's someone assigned to the group that knows they're the designated leader. And so the students really love it because they can take leadership. Or if you have officers, they can be leaders. Or if you have volunteers who assist you with your Zoom, or teaching assistants, they can take leadership too. But the kids really, I know the first time I did breakout rooms, one of the kids, oh, this is cool. It's a room, it's a meeting within a meeting. So if you haven't done that, I encourage you to use that. Always allow for interaction and participation. I feel like I'm not setting a very good model with this meeting today because I'm kind of burning through a lot of information. Uh, Always take a break if your session is going to go more than an hour, always have a break. And when you have a break, give an objective. Of course, go to the restroom, get something to drink, and come back with something musical or come back with something unusual that you want to share because that gets people motivated to come back. And also, you'll get to see all their pets, which is really fun because usually they come back with chickens. I've had chickens, I've had a pet snake, I've had all kinds of things, and it helps you build relationships with the students. And also, it gives them a chance for them to kind of be in the spotlight. Um, there's all kinds of singing things that you can do on Zoom. We already know what you can't do. You can't have group singing, but you can do tag singing, chase singing, call and response, question games, uh, rote singing, and you can make up tunes, improvisation. What I do when I have a student come in is they usually rename themselves to either their first name that they want to be called, and also they give themselves a number. So if we're doing a chase singing, I'll say, okay, we're going to start with number 5. And then that way, 5 goes, 6 goes, 7 goes, 8 goes. It takes a lot of the dead time when they think, well, who do you want to go next? And then you can go backwards, and then that ensures that everybody gets a turn. I put all the singing files or the PDFs of the music in a Google Doc so that they can assess them and easily have access to them. And then I also try to set up YouTube playlists. For example, the camps that I just did, all the songs were on a YouTube playlist. They had everything in a Google Doc. And then if somebody still had trouble, I'd throw it up on my screen and say, okay, just take a picture of it, so that everybody has access to it. And that seems to get everyone to participate more. And as you know, you pretty much can just have one sound at a time. There is more lag time for speaking and singing than for video because a lot of times we'll do little dances or movements or whatever, And that seems to have less lag time. So that's a real effective thing. If you can add motions, you can do hand signs, you'll be able to do those pretty coordinated. Okay, if you have extended, let's say you want to do, your school hasn't allowed for extracurricular, and let's say you want to do your summer choir camp on Zoom. Um, the, what I found out in doing extended Zooms is, like I said, every 45 minutes we had a break. They had the full agenda that I sent out ahead of time and all the learning files. We did a lot of team bonding because many of the people, I mean, we had people from different states in it, and it was a way for them. By the end of the week, they really seemed to build relationships. Um, you can have guests come in, that breaks it up. And what I did is I have alums. I'm sure you've all done this too. I've called on all the people that I've, you know owed me favors. I felt like alums who came and performed, who demonstrated different techniques, who talked about their experiences, told why they love music. For If you have a lunchtime, you can structure this. You can watch certain videos and discuss them, or have the students while they're eating write in the chant, or you can is when you can have your guest speakers, and that way you're using that time. Um, I always give a few minutes for open mic where they can talk to each other. I don't do it for a long period of time because then it can be a little bit too much, but um, it's interesting the things they'll talk about. And then if you have a camp, you always want an end goal. And so if you the end goals that I did for the camps, and I had other teachers helping me. I'm not taking all the credit, but we did it in two ways. They would record a personal video, so we put those together for a virtual finale. Then we put a string of their videos together for a video production. Then we also did a live production on Zoom. And the way that we did that is mostly we had like solos, monologues, things like that, so that you could hear everybody had their spotlight. And then we had our group finale, which that was done as a virtual choir. Now, for the Zooms, just like you would in class if you were having a camp or you were having your first week of school, you might have choir spirit days. And so we had, for this past few months, like every Zoom had some kind of a little spirit theme. Hat day, wacky day, island day. I did one over spring break where they could dress like in their favorite school appropriate vacation outfit. Um, so one student, had his little beverage, outdoor beverage looking container, and he had his Hawaiian shirt. And so they went all out. We had a musical theme where they dressed for their favorite musical or wore something from their favorite musical. Sock day, which everybody loves because they can hold up their legs and show their favorite sock. And then the fun part of having that too is they can just run to their closet if they forgot and grab whatever they want and say, okay, let me run and get it. So I also included some of the themes, the different themes, and some of the guest performers for the Zooms. And then I put a couple of websites that you can use that have some games. And there are so many games that you can do on Zoom. Some work better than others. If you want specifics, you can email me. I'll be happy to share those. Okay, so that pretty much covers Zoom. And I'm going to go on now to some other uh, online tools that have been very successful. Of course, YouTube, I'm sure you all use that. Having your own channel to store videos, to create playlists. You can also broadcast your webinars, performances. And the thing about YouTube, there are simple editing features, but you can store so much on YouTube. And if you go to my YouTube channel, Joyce Click, you'll see the videos like when you record your warm ups, when you record your lessons. And the more of those you can record now, the better, because you can use those in your class. And if you are in a situation like we are in, uh, where we have big numbers and not enough space, when you have groups go outside, they can have their phones and their earphones and actually listen to the warm ups and do the warm ups with you, but you don't have to actually be right there. And they can also listen to their learning files right at the school, especially if you're having to divide up because you don't have room in your classroom. Flipgrid. How many people use Flipgrid? I know I can't see all of you, but Flipgrid is awesome. Last night they had their big rollout of their revisions. And I had never heard of it, of course, until e-learning started. But it is so fantastic. It's a free program where the students can record their singing and or they can talk about a topic. Like I'm using Sarah's idea from her session. I'm going to have them record about what they love about choir, the essence of choir, because in most of our schools, choir is going to look different this year. It's just going to be a different situation. And so, what is the essence of choir they love? And so, they are going to do Flipgrid videos. It's going to be something they're going to do in July. And then I'm going to post those on my Facebook page and social media and have them share them. And also, the Flipgrid, they can watch each other's because it's open. So, I suggest that you definitely look at that. And the great thing is, you can grade them, you can make comments on their singing. If you want to have other students, they can give little comments on the singing as well, or give them high fives, give them little ratings. So it's a really awesome, user friendly. I've had first graders in kindergartens, like in my camp. They they already know how to do Flipgrid. It's just so simple. I can't recommend it enough. QuickTime movies. I know many of you used QuickTime for screen recording movies on your screen. Like you can do sight reading examples and demonstrate them, or you can talk about them. Um, and I know that, again, you can do simple editing with QuickTime. Now, AudioShip is something that helps you put your MP3 files on YouTube. And I've used that extensively because if you make MP3 files, learning files, or warm up files, the easiest place I've found for students just to pull things up is YouTube. So you can, it'll convert it within seconds, and you can put it on your playlist and say, go to this playlist, and they can sing along with those as well. So all these tools are going to be very helpful this year, especially when you have to spread students out, or we don't know what our report will be, but if our report is that only so many people can sing when we get the report from University of Colorado, if it's only so many people can sing in a room at a time, then you can use this to spread your students to various rooms. Other applications, of course, Google Docs. You all are better at that than me, but having Google Files is a great way to store. GarageBand to make your MIDI files, and Soundtrap. And Soundtrap was free. I think they're going to start charging. So I was able to use that for the students, and it's a really cool program. The only downside is the student, for you to hear what they create, they have to explicitly share it with you and make you a collaborator. And so some of the students, there was so much going on that it was hard for them. But I had several students who really loved Soundtrap and went on and did like multi-track recording. They would take a choir piece and do all the parts, that really loved it. iMovie, free editing software, and I think that's Mac, but there's so much you can do. And then sight reading. And I know there's sessions on sight reading, and I watched the one that's pre-recorded. And then this afternoon, we're going to hear about iMovie making virtual choir videos. And of course, iCloud, Dropbox, Google Storage, you'll need a lot of storage. I have an external hard drive as well. If you do anything with video, your computer will be full so fast. And it's a good investment to maybe upgrade one of those files that's free, like maybe get extra iCloud, or just an external hard drive that you can store so much on it. Now, as far as hardware, and again, I'm able to get this on Donors Choose. Donors Choose, if you're not familiar, DONORS, choose.org, is like a crowdfunding, and it's for teachers, specifically for public school teachers. And so what you can do is request, and oftentimes they have matches, and you can send to your friends, your family. My family, that's what they usually give me for birthdays, is they donate to one of my Donors Choose. So it's amazing how fast you can get these various things funded. So these are all things like the video camera. It's really nice to have a separate video camera on a tripod that's there all the time, that you can just record and then upload your videos, and that kind of gives you some ideas of things that you need. Of course, Casio keyboard is what I use in my studio with MIDI cables, and it works perfectly fine on Zoom. And that was something I already had we had at school. So the next thing I'm going to go over a little bit is how I use YouTube. And you can set your playlists up. They can be musicology themes. I have playlists of some highlights from the Zoom recordings. I set up the repertoire. I find great choirs across the world who are singing the songs that we're planning to sing. Some of the guests, if they allow you to record, you can put up their presentation, just kind of like we're doing today. The end of year celebrations that I know we all did, those are posted for a while so that parents can watch those. The warm-ups, choreography videos, and a lot of these we've all been doing for years. Or you can set your mirroring if you have a choreography video where you're looking straight on, and then one where it's mirrored. And so these are the types of things for years. There's one thing that I did. I've actually been doing it for a while, but it was a secret. It was kind of like this in-class secret. And I'd say, now don't tell anybody about this, but I would make up these silly raps and do it like right before like our madrigal dinner, or right before contest, or for graduation. And I would try to use all the students' names in some way or another, and I'd throw a little shade, because sometimes you know things on your students, and it was always in fun. It was kind of a big deal. Well, when school shut down, I'm sure you know that the kids were totally bummed, and they were afraid, and they were devastated. And so I thought, what am I able to do to maybe bring a little fun in their lives, because there's a lot of trauma. So I brought out my raps, and I started doing a series of these silly, ridiculous raps. And something so interesting happened, because I got a phone call from the Indianapolis Star and said that they'd heard about one of my silly raps and wanted to know if I'd do an interview. So you never know. I'm not a famous rapper, but I think that if anything that we can do to try to encourage um, students to participate, to engage, is really beneficial. So what I'm going to do is, I have a little surprise for you. I have come with a Choral Directors Rap. So I hope that the YouTube recording will work. Hey, all you choral directors, put down your baton. We need a clicks to rap. Sing along. We're here to think about new ways to teach, so every singer we can reach. Your concert hall this fall may be the great outdoors, or 6 feet apart on the gymnasium floor. Sheet music and folders may be a thing of the past, so order digital downloads, they come real fast. Small ensemble soloists may lead your classes, and Zoom may be your mode for sharing with the masses. You can still teach technique and appreciation and give all the students music education. Choral directors will do whatever it requires to build relationships within our choirs. Although we might not have hundreds packed on a stage, there are other ways to make music from a page. We can listen to individuals sing a part and mix them all together for a program start. Students may become independent, knowing every word and improving their tone because they're individually heard, and become better listeners because they audiate and improve intonation as they imitate. So rest that baton and your preconceived notions, release all those negative and anxious emotions. You are the best teacher anywhere around, so use that creativity to create a gorgeous sound. So hallelujah, yes indeed, we get to hear our students, and we will do it safely in a way that is prudent. We believe all conductors will answer the call and give great instruction in the fall. Have a great year. We know it's gonna be just fun. Don't give up. Everything's gonna be great. All right, so that's for all of you, because it is going to be a little bit different year, but we're going to make this. Now, I'm going to go on to Flipgrid. So, Flipgrid. So what you do, you set your classes up in grids. You share a link with the class. They don't have to upload anything. You set up a topic, like Sarah's topic of why music. And, then they can talk about it, or you say, I want you to do your virtual choir recording of your part of All Too Soon. And all you have to do to set it up is just make sure that they either have a Gmail account or that you have their emails, because they do have to sign in with an email. And you don't have to enter the full email. You just enter at yahoo.com or at Hotmail or at your school email. If they all have your school email, you're good to go. And you just show the class a deadline, give the class a deadline, and show them how to record. So let's see if I can get up my Flipgrid. I had it up earlier. I shouldn't have closed that window. Okay, we'll go to history. I'll see if I can just put it in Flipgrid and pull it up. And yeah, when you do Flipgrid, you can log on, educator login, you can sign in. Okay, here we go. And here you see, can you still see this? Can everybody see the Flipgrid, Ryan? Can you see my Flipgrid? Okay, so these are the grids that I've set up. Like I have the one Y choir. These are where the musical theater students recorded things, the different choirs. And then with your grids, you can just, see if I can pull one up here. Here you go. And you can see a specific topic, like say solo assignments. And then you see all their videos. You can rate their videos. You can open them, and you can make comments, either verbal or written. And it's really well organized, and you don't have to worry about them sending you videos or you exporting them. It's all right here, and it's stored here so that if you have to go back and refer to it, and then they can look and see what you wrote about them. And you can see you can make it so they can view each other's. Just in this one uh, section, they've been viewing each other and commenting on each other. So Flipgrid, and to record, they record right within it. It gives you a plus sign and you record it. It's very user friendly. Then if you want to download the videos, let's say you're making a virtual choir, you want to put them together for a presentation, it's very easy to do that. So really, really consider checking out Flipgrid if you haven't done that. And this shows you what I was showing you earlier, the different grids. Now, to improve student engagement, because did anyone have trouble with getting all your students to participate? Sometimes it was really hard because a lot of the students didn't have the proper technology. So I felt like I was doing troubleshooting for that, helping kids get their passwords for Canvas. And so, but this will be better prepared this year because I think the schools have grants where they will get the technology. So what I did is I did multiple ways of communicating. I posted it in Canvas. Of course, I sent reminds, I sent emails, I put things on Facebook, Twitter, and as far as Facebook, I started two new pages. One was for my kids I teach at church, and what it was, we kind of did it for kids at church, and each Friday we do a sing-along video. And I have different people from the church or different students or different families take a song. We try to do a public domain praise song, and they sing it. And then people can join in, and I know that's been really a good motivator. You could do the same thing. I'm thinking of doing the same thing with school, where they can do a public domain round, a public domain folk song, and post that once a week. I started a page called Choir Communication that I've been posting some of the projects, some of the senior recognition, some of the announcements for e-learning. That's where I'm going to post their videos, some of the best videos as to why they take choir and why they love choir and why they love music. And so any way that you can virtually communicate really helps them become more engaged and gives them a motivation, especially if they're the one that's doing the folk song or the sing-along or leading the warm-up. And yet it's surprising how many people will actually look. They, of course, have to have a reason other than a grade, and we know our kids aren't motivated by grades. They are motivated intrinsically. So try to eliminate any excuses. When you go back to school, have a technology orientation your very first week, or that's something else that can be done on Zoom with the whole class, making sure that they know how to use their remind, making sure they know how to get on whatever your school uses universally, making sure that they are connected to, they're able to connect to Flipgrid, whatever you use, make sure the very first week you have a technology orientation, and then the old-fashioned phone call. If you are allowed, and you can get everybody's cell phone number, because when the last resort is you don't hear from someone or they haven't done something that you've asked, just giving a call and say, hey, is everything okay? That a lot of times will be the very thing that they know that you really care. And we're going into a hybrid environment where we will have to combine in-person with technology. And I think that what we are all discovering is that it's actually a really good way to teach because you can make connections. And right now it's taking a lot of time. But I believe that once we get more comfortable with this environment, that it will be second nature, just like all the things that we do. And these are just some basic tips, and I think I just pretty much discussed those. So I am going to give this week, or every week in school, a technology goal to make sure that they are keeping up on some of these, the information that I've given them. something they have to record, something that they have to do, a sight reading example, so that they will be sure that they understand, really know the technology, especially in the event that we would have a second wave. Differentiating instruction for all. This is really important. If you have special needs, which I'm sure you all do, I was able to come up with activities for those special needs students and they were able to uh, participate. They were able to participate in Zoom. Now they had to have parent support, but giving them alternative assignments really, really is helpful too. So don't forget your special needs families because I mean, I had students that every week, and it was so fun because you'd see their families doing the songs with them, you'd see their families dancing with them, and helping enjoy the experience. As far as funding, I've already told you about Donors Choose. There's also Adopt a Classroom. They don't have as many grants, but they do have some. Sponsorships. It's interesting because the virtual choirs, if you need support as far as if you're paying an editor to help you, there are families that say, hey, I'll sponsor that, or I'll help you get uh, some of your technology tools or equipment. Also, asking around for equipment in your school that someone's not using. And then there are some things that maybe we won't have to spend money on this year. And that money, like last spring, we were going to go to Kings Island. I already had money that I'd saved back and budgeted for the buses. So I was able to use that for the virtual choir. I had help for editing. And then this just tells about some of the things I've received from Donors Choose. And professional development, just like you're all here, I'm sure you've been doing webinars, but I put some examples of things that you can join, and some Facebook groups have been very helpful. The e-learning music education, the drama teacher, middle school, ISTA Ed Talk, anybody can join any of these. And then, of course, now we're getting all the conferences, the online conferences, their videos. I have links to resources of places that you can look. And I also included the teacher appreciation article that I talked about. So that I'm going to stop sharing. And I take, Ryan, do we have this set up to do, I don't know if you do, breakout rooms? I don't see it at the bottom in the
I
set.
didn't previously set it up for breakout rooms. I'm not sure if we have enough time to do
Yes.
that and try to get people out and then back in within about 5 minutes. I'm sorry.
So what I would like to do, and I feel really bad because in a regular Zoom, it would be very interactive, but I know we're trying to get a lot of information. But I would just like if a few people would just like share something that they have used. Uh,
We
that's
also have a few questions, Joyce.
Oh, we do.
We
Okay.
do.
All right. Well, go ahead and we can do the questions.
I have from Kathleen. Did your district require you to have another staff member in the breakout rooms or record them for safety?
Well, we didn't get any guidelines, but I was fortunate. I had an awesome student teacher, and I tell you, she saved me. She knew how to do Canvas very well, and we would troubleshoot, and she was awesome. So I had her for the duration, and then the summer camps that I did for our district, I have co-teachers. So I guess I was lucky that wasn't faced with that. But if you are, then you just have to, I would say, start recruiting other teachers to help you. And then recording is so simple. I think that recording a session is, and you can save it in the cloud or you can save it on your external hard drive. So if that is an issue, then you can look for both of those.
Wonderful.
Any other questions?
Also have Terry. Would you be willing to share your organization notes from your music camps how you structured your day, registration, etc. That could be a whole other session.
Yes. Okay. So they sign up through Eventbrite, even though they're sponsored by the district. And then when you get Eventbrite, you get their email. And once you have the email, you can send them I put the full agenda for the week on a PowerPoint, and you can send them a link to that. And then their Google Drive with all their music. And of course, the shows that I used, I had the rights. We did musicals in the camps, and I had the rights to share, and we also had the rights to record. And this fantastic company, I can't give them enough credit, Beat by Beat Press. They will let you record everything. They will let you publish everything. They are amazing. They have 2 musicals for online. It's all set up in monologues and solos. And they are funny, they are great. They wrote these in a matter of me, but I've used their musicals for camps forever. Their musicals are really fun, and the songs are very good. And they give you all the learning tools. You get the singing files and you get the accompaniment files. So the students, if they wanted to use accompaniment, they would just go to the YouTube playlist I had that would have the accompaniment on it, and they would have to do the accompaniment from their computer for the live Zoom and also for their recorded. And it has to be simple because some of these kids were as young as like 6 years old. So it was all ages. We did all different ages, through high school. So yes. And if you include your email and then Ryan shares the chat with me, I can email you my samples. I'd be happy to do that. Any other questions, Sarah?
We have Laura asking how you handled students who did not feel comfortable appearing on camera.
Okay, I am glad you brought that up because I tried to make deals with them as much as I could. I'd say, well, go in your bathroom, because some of them didn't want their families to hear them sing. I said, go shut the door. Okay, well, just do the audio. Contribute the audio. And so some would do that, and some would come to Zoom and they would hide themselves every single time because they don't want to be on. So making deals, I had one student that said that he didn't want to do things live and he didn't want to do certain assignments. I said, well, what would you do? And I know that this was dire emergency. We were trying to get kids engaged any way we could. But sometimes just give and take will really help. I think if you have hard and fast, it doesn't always work for everybody's situation because you don't know how their family is.
We also had a question about virtual choirs, but you are fortunately going to be with us on our virtual choir session this afternoon. So I'm going to encourage any of you interested in how Joyce did her virtual choirs to check that out later today. Any other last questions as we wrap up today?
I want to just say that I think it's amazing that all of you are taking your summer to learn from others, and also the work that you do. It means so much to the students. And there are students that would not be in school, you know this, that would not go to school if it wasn't for choir. The only thing, maybe activity that they have at school, or the only reason they go to school, is because of choir. And so I want to thank all of you, and I really would love to learn from all of you, and I'm anxious when Ryan sends me the link to the chat to hear what comments that you have and ideas that you've shared. And I'm really sorry that I couldn't make this interactive, but email me and we'll figure something out.
Hi, Beth Wind here again. Wanted to let you know that Dave's Music Den will become Sweetwater Music. That's right, we will become one very shortly. In the meantime, we are having a huge sale on the Sweetwater campus, 40% off a whole lot of our departments, which includes choral, vocal, as well as any of the musical resources, choral resources, and educational materials that we have in stock. So if you'd like more help with that, please give me a call or an email. Otherwise, stop in at the campus. It'll be worth the trip, I promise. Thanks again. Have a great day.